We're going to talk about something today that, well, a lot of us feel, but we don't really talk about it out loud. It's this strange thing that can happen with our brothers and sisters, especially as we get into our 60s and beyond. We're calling it the great sibling drift. It's the subtle, sometimes really painful shift with the one person who has literally known you your entire life. They're this constant thread woven through every single chapter, right? But for so many of us, that thread starts to feel a little frayed, a little distant. And it happens right at a time when you'd think you'd be closer than ever. If any of that sounds familiar, believe me, you are not alone. Let's just start by putting this right out there. A central and, painful reality of later life is that the deep, shared bond with your siblings can change dramatically. And it leads to this unexpected distance and misunderstanding. This isn't just in your head. It's a real, profound shift. It can leave you feeling confused, maybe even a little heartbroken over a bond that used to feel so easy, so automatic. This is the person who knew you before anyone else, and now it can feel like you're talking to a stranger. It is so important to hear this. That feeling is not a personal failure. It's a common, shared experience, a silent struggle for millions of people. So, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Why? After all those decades of shared holidays, inside jokes, and just being there for each other, why do these lifelong bonds suddenly feel so fragile? It's easy to blame it on one big fight, or politics, or just a personality clash. But the real reasons, they're usually deeper than that. They're less about you and more about the actual structure of your life changing. So in this explainer, we're going to pull back the curtain on the invisible forces that held these relationships together for so long. We'll look at what happens when they just disappear. And most importantly, we're going to map out a clear, practical path to rebuild that connection on a new, stronger foundation. Okay, let's dive into our first section, when the glue dissolves. This gets right to the heart of it. And honestly, this insight might surprise you. See, the drift usually isn't happening because you or your siblings have changed for the worse. It's because the very landscape of your family has been completely rearranged. We're going to talk about this invisible glue that held your relationship in a certain pattern for decades, and what happens when, almost overnight, it just dissolves. The big concept to really wrap your head around is this idea of parental glue. Think about it. For decades, your parents were like the sun in your family's solar system. Your relationship with your siblings wasn't just between the two of you. It was defined by your shared orbit around your parents, right? Planning mom's 70th birthday, coordinating who was visiting dad in the hospital, figuring out Thanksgiving. These weren't just family events. They were mandatory connection points. They were an external structure that forced you to collaborate, to talk, to plan. That was the glue. And this really shows you the before and after. On the left, that's the before. Your parents were that central anchor, creating a kind of gravitational pull. Life had built-in reasons to connect: birthdays, anniversaries, parent care. You had a shared purpose, a common project that made you talk. Contact was automatic. But now, look at the right, after. When that anchor is gone, you're left with what you could call a structural void. There's no longer a big family project that requires you to call your brother. Your individual lives with your own partners, your kids, your grandkids are now free to spin off into their own separate orbits. And all of a sudden, every single phone call, every text, it requires a conscious choice, an effort that just wasn't necessary before. And what rushes in to fill that new empty space? Well, often it's friction. Without that shared mission of taking care of mom and dad, issues that were buried for years can suddenly erupt. First, you get what we'll call legacy divergence. This is all about the past. Suddenly, you're not just siblings, you're co-executors of a will. Disagreements over money or heirlooms, they're never just about the money, are they? They become about fairness, and old childhood resentments can just bubble to the surface. And then there's value divergence. This is about the present. Over the years, your politics, your lifestyles, maybe they've just drifted apart. Before, you might have just avoided those topics at Thanksgiving for your parents' sake. But now, without that buffer, those differences can feel like a direct challenge. Okay, so if the old structure is gone, what's next? This is the pivot point. The old way of relating, the one based on that shared orbit around your parents, it's over. But that does not mean the relationship has to be. And that brings us to section 2, which is all about a huge mindset shift. Moving from a relationship built on obligation to one built on choice. It's about consciously building something new together. I want you to just let this sink in for a second. Longer than your marriage, longer than your best friendships, even longer than your relationship with your own kids. Your siblings are your longest relationship. They're the only other people on the entire planet who share your exact origin story. They remember the name of your dog from when you were 5. They remember the weird wallpaper in your childhood kitchen, the exact sound of your dad's laugh. That shared history is an irreplaceable anchor. This is why. This is the reason this relationship is worth the effort it now requires. And that leads us to the new goal, cultivating an adult friendship. What does that mean? It means you have to consciously renegotiate the terms. You have to actively re-choose each other. You're no longer just the big sister or the little brother stuck in those old roles. You're two independent adults with full, separate lives who are making a deliberate choice to stay connected. It's about meeting each other right where you are now, not where you were 40 years ago. And you know what? This isn't a downgrade from family. It's an evolution into something much more mature and honestly, potentially more meaningful. So, how do we build this new foundation? Well, it really rests on 2 main pillars. First up is intentional structure. Since the old automatic structure is gone, you have to build a new one on purpose. You have to create new reasons, new routines for connection. And the second pillar is adult acceptance. This is about truly seeing your sibling as their own person, with their own views and their own life, and being okay with that. It's about protecting the relationship by not letting every single difference turn into a fight. All right, so we've talked a lot about the why. Now let's get into the how. In section 3, we're going to cover 3 very intentional actions. This is where the rubber meets the road. We're going to shift from theory to concrete, totally manageable steps. I'm going to give you 3 specific, powerful things you can do to start building that new foundation of structure and acceptance we were just talking about. These are your new tools, your roadmap. First, we've got the scheduled connection mandate. This is all about creating consistency. Second, the no-go zone boundary. This is about creating emotional safety. And third, the shared life review, which is all about creating positive connection. Let's break down each one.
Action number 1 is, without a doubt, the most important. You have to replace that lost structure. The scheduled connection mandate just means putting a recurring, non-negotiable check-in on the calendar. Maybe it's a 15-minute phone call every Sunday afternoon. The goal here is consistency, not length. You don't have to have a big, deep, meaningful talk every time. The point is to just maintain that thread of connection, to make talking to each other a simple, low-pressure habit again. This one single action starts to rebuild the routine of just being in each other's lives. Okay, our second action is all about self-preservation, really. Think of it like creating a safe harbor for your relationship. This is the no-go zone. It's a mutual agreement, sometimes you even have to say it out loud, to just not talk about certain topics. Maybe it's politics, maybe it's the inheritance, maybe it's your opinion on their spouse. Look, this isn't about being fake or avoiding reality. It's an act of respect. It's you saying, our relationship is more important to me than winning this argument. It protects your bond from the constant wear and tear of topics you're probably never going to agree on anyway.
And finally, our third action is about refilling the well with positivity. After you've created some structure and some safety, you need to actually foster a positive connection. This is the shared life review. Instead of getting stuck on all your current disagreements, you deliberately shift the focus back to your shared foundation. This can be as simple as digging up an old photo and texting it with, "Hey, remember this day?" Or spending 5 minutes of your scheduled call just talking about that one family vacation you took when you were kids. These little things, they're so low stakes, but the reward is huge. They remind both of you of the incredible history you share, and that reinforces the why behind all this effort. Now, taking these steps takes work. And let's be real, it can feel a little awkward at first. You know, scheduling a call with your own brother or sister. That's why Section 4 is all about the long game. We're going to zoom out a bit and focus on perspective. This is about finding the encouragement to stick with it, because the long-term rewards are, well, they're immeasurable. This quote really nails the emotional work that's required here. Adult acceptance is the key. It's the price of admission. You have to let go of the old childhood roles. He's not just your annoying little brother anymore. He's a 68-year-old man who's lived a whole life. She's not just your bossy older sister. She's a woman who has navigated her own struggles. Seeing them as a peer with the same right to their own opinions as any other friend, that's the shift that opens the door to a whole new kind of closeness. And let's be crystal clear about the goal. This is not about trying to fix the past. You're not going to erase old hurts or pretend you agree on everything. This is a profoundly practical act of securing your future. As we get older, our social circles naturally get smaller. And in that new reality, having a sibling who is an active, positive part of your life, that is a powerful, powerful buffer against loneliness. This work isn't just for them. It's a huge investment in your own future emotional well-being.
And the rewards of this effort really are huge. What you're building, one phone call at a time, is an emotional safety net for your later years. You are actively reducing the friction that leads to so much pain and misunderstanding. You're making sure that one of the most important people in your life, the co-keeper of your memories, remains a source of comfort and support for all the years to come. Remember, having to adapt this relationship isn't a sign that it's failing. It's a sign of your strength and your wisdom. Okay, we've covered a lot of ground. We've talked about the why behind the drift, the what of this new mindset, and the how of taking action. Now, in our last section, we're going to bring it all together and focus on your first gentle step. This is about moving from understanding to doing, taking one small step toward connection, starting this week. If you only remember one thing from all of this, let it be this. In this new chapter of life, the survival of your sibling bond really comes down to two things: intentional scheduling to create connection, and boundary enforcement to create safety. It's that simple and it's that profound. You're just building a new, stronger container to hold your relationship. So I want you to just pause and really think about this for a second. We're not talking about some huge dramatic gesture. This isn't about having a big, heavy conversation to rehash the past. It's a much simpler question. What is one tiny, manageable, proactive step you can commit to taking in the next 7 days? So here's your gentle challenge. It's just 2 parts. Step 1, before you even pick up the phone, identify one safe, positive thing to talk about. A shared memory, a TV show you both watch, asking about their garden, anything easy. Step 2, look at your calendar right now and schedule one 15-minute call for sometime next week. Put it in writing. That's it. The goal isn't a breakthrough. The goal is just a connection. So, as we wrap this up, please remember, the drift you might be feeling, it's normal. It's a predictable result of the old family structure falling away. The path forward isn't about going backward. It's about moving forward with intention. And your most powerful tools are the simple habit of a scheduled connection and the mature respect of adult acceptance. By taking these small, deliberate steps, you ensure that this vital, lifelong relationship, your longest relationship, continues to be a source of incredible support, shared history, and deep belonging for the rest of your life. And that is absolutely worth one intentional call.